Hey guys, my name is Nora Franche, and welcome to the podcast Grateful Blessed Mess, daily reflections for those in the 12 steps. I am a fellow 12-stepper and certified mindset coach, and I am here to introduce you to the value of mindset coaching in your 12-step journey. So if you feel like you are stuck in the steps, if you're slipping and sliding with your abstinence, mindset coaching may help you as it did me, and you can find me at catholicmindsetcoaching.com. These episodes are meant to invite you in to consider the truths of 12-step wisdom and to join in the very real struggle of living them in action. I hope that it feels almost like a mini meeting, and I invite you to contribute your own share on the Grateful Blessed Mess Facebook group to keep the discussion going. My comments are based on my own experience, so feel free to take what you like and leave the rest. But my hope is to encourage you on your own daily 12-step journey. As they say, you cannot stay clean on yesterday's shower. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, guys, a day at a time. November 22nd. We succeed in enterprises which demand the positive qualities we possess, wrote de Tocqueville, but we excel in those which can also make use of our defects. We learn in the program that our defects do have value, to the extent that we use them as the starting point for change and the pathway to better things. Fear can be a stepping stone to prudence, for example, as well as to respect for others. Fear can also help us turn away from hate and toward understanding. In the same way, pride can lead us toward the road of humility. Am I aware of my direction today? Do I care where I'm going? Today I pray. I pray that my higher power will show me how to use my defects in a positive way, because nothing, not even fear or selfishness or greed, is all bad. May I trust that every quality that leads me into trouble has a reverse side that can lead me out. Pride, for instance, can't puff itself up unduly without bursting and demonstrating that it is, in essence, only hot air. May I learn from my weaknesses. Today I will remember good news out of bad. I have so much to say here. This is a favorite topic of mine, especially because it stumped me for so long, being able to see the good in the bad. And something that has helped me is to understand that nearly every vice, every negative character trait is just the extreme, either an excess or deficit of a good trait. So, for example, courage. If it's to the extreme, it's brashness and we're not using good sense. It becomes foolishly putting ourselves in danger. But then on the other extreme of that, in deficit of courage, is timidity, where you aren't able to show up and be who you need to be in a certain situation. And that golden mean that we've talked about before, that virtuous middle point, is courage. It's having heart in the face of fear. And it helps us show up for life, and it helps us to be great, to be magnanimous. And that is the call of each person's life, to be magnificent in your own specific way. And so there are, infinite. I have a Google Doc where I've been compiling a list of every, you're going to make fun of me, every virtue, and trying to match it with every counter vice that I can in both extremes, in excess and in deficit. And perhaps something like that exists out there, but I am not aware of it. And so if you find it, please let me know so I can stop haranguing my brain. But it's also been actually very fun. And it is a method of learning that I have. This stuff gets like ingrained into my brain in a way that nothing ever has that I've learned. I find it so fascinating, but I'm also doing the work of teasing out, like I'll find a virtue such as, sincerity. And then I try to find out and discover what is the negative, the defect in excess and in deficit of that virtue. And one that I love is the virtue is love as a virtue, or charity, as you'll hear it called, because I heard such different things about excess and deficit. And that's why for certain big ones, certain really, really hefty virtues, I feel like there is an excess and a deficit, but then there's a polar opposite. And so for the excess and deficit of love, there's apathy and hatred. And hatred is where you wish ill. If true charity is willing the good of the other, hatred is wishing ill for the other, and apathy is nothing, is wishing nothing. But then the polar opposite of love, this is what JP2 said, is the opposite of love, is lust, is using another person for your own agenda, your own personal ends. And that is just fascinating. That blew my mind when I learned about that, because lust was its own category to me. It's a deadly sin. It's different. I never thought about it in relation to how I'm loving someone until I heard it that way. Because he used to say that everyone says the opposite of love is hatred, but he said it was lust. And so in my own crazy mind, this was my compilation of basically I have like the sign of the cross, and at the very top I have charity, and on either arm I have apathy and hate, and then at the very bottom I have lust, using another for your own ends. And I've started to do that with all the hefty virtues to try to find, just to better understand what I'm aiming for. So when I find myself in hatred, is it an offshoot of envy? Is it an offshoot of anger? Is it an offshoot of pride? And there's two things. There are two ways I think that character defects can be useful. And one, they're useful in that we're able to recognize our littleness, which brings us to humility and allows us to fall on our higher power. But I think often, and this is where the compassion comes in, I think more often than not, it's just a miscalibration of how we're trying to actually be good, how we're trying to act right. And so sometimes if I go to arrogance or superiority, it comes from maybe criticizing another person, what they're doing, but maybe because what they're doing is wrong. I just don't need to swing so hard to the other side of being like, oh, and I would never do that. It's okay to see something and call it wrong. And it's okay to let someone know that what they're doing is not okay. We just want to stay at that middle ground in humility and calling things what they are, and not swing to the other side of condescension and superiority and self-righteousness. And so if I do swing too hard, that's my indicator of A, to follow my higher power, but B, to be like, okay, well, what was the good thing that I was actually going for here? Because it helps me to see myself as good instead of just failing all the time. Because I start to despair when all I see is where I fail. And that's, I think, where my faith life was before 12 steps, before I learned that every character defect has a good quality to it. And I think it is just that often, more often than not, it's just me overshooting or undershooting something good, the actual, golden mean that I'm made to pursue. So I find that really interesting. I love that they commented on it here. I have so much more that I could say, but I think I've said enough for one day. With that, I pass. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you feel that mindset coaching could help you on your 12-step journey, please feel free to reach out and find me at catholicmindsetcoaching.com. This is not a replacement for 12-step work. This is something outside of the 12 steps. It is simply something that has a heart for the 12 steps and those who are in it. And so, welcome. If you are here, chances are you may also be a bit of a mess. And I hope that you can learn to find some gratitude in the blessings that have come from your messes.